Hi, I'm Charles with AniCap. The story begins as we watch someone barely managing to stay on a tightrope. Students gossip about how he just got into another fight and how he is nothing but trouble. Even the parents discuss how dangerous he is. Everyone thinks that he's too dangerous to even look at, but it's to be expected since everyone knows that he doesn't know how to interact with people. They insult his appearance, citing how he refuses to dye his hair black. Even the color of one of his eyes is wrong, and they use that to say that he must be cursed. Everyone thinks he is disgusting, and the kid eventually falls off the rope. We then see our angry protagonist for the first time named Sakura. He explains that he likes the strong and couldn't care less about the weak. Nearby, some guys harass a girl and wonder if she wants to go do something. She would like to bash some eggs over their heads, but that would just be a waste of good eggs. The guy warns her not to act so stuck up, and he keeps her from leaving. Sakura then explains that what he hates the most are weak people who think they are strong. Sakura interferes with the gang of harassers and tells them that it's too early to be acting so lame. The leader tries to attack Sakura, but unfortunately he is one of the types that Sakura hates the most. Sakura easily drops this guy and wonders what could possibly be going on in his head that makes him think that he is strong when he is not. Sakura demands that they drill his name and face into their brains so that they can tell all the weak people they know to run away from him when they see him. Sakura is some kind of psychopath, as he also wants them to know his name so that they can tell all the strong people how to find him. He declares that he is Sakura Hakura from Furin High School. Sakura leaves these jerks, but the girl stops him to say thank you. Sakura is confused and wonders if she is talking to him. She confirms that she was, and Sakura makes it very clear that he actually didn't do that to save her. He only beat those guys up because they annoyed him. Sakura declines her offer to eat something, but she ends up feeding him anyway. She can tell that he isn't from this town, and it's pretty rare for anyone to come visit. She explains that the gang he had just fought has been causing a lot of problems, and the town's public safety has become non-existent. She admits to not being from this town either, and introduces herself as Tachibana. Sakura can't understand why she's being so nice, since most people would be afraid of him, especially after he just beat up 5 guys. Sakura begrudgingly eats her food when she asks him to, but he is shocked by how amazing it is. He wonders if her restaurant does takeoff, but she corrects him as the dummy is trying to say takeout. Tachibana points out that his eye and hair colors are all out of whack, and he wonders if she has a problem with it. She is more amazed than anything, but the paranoid Sakura thinks she wants to brawl. Sakura is surprised because normally people are grossed out by his appearance, and they demand that he dye his hair. Sakura explains that looks don't matter in a fight, and that is why he came to Furin. Furin is known for having students with the worst grades, but they are also the best fighters. They are the people that slip through the cracks at other schools and end up at Furin. Here, fractions brawl every day to decide who is on top. Their dedication to fight is so strong that they even fight on holidays, and Sakura is determined to become the top dog. Tachibana points out that this is aiming pretty high, but Sakura reveals that the reality is, he is just as dumb as a brick, and fighting is all he knows. To him though, nothing sounds better than fighting to be number 1, and this place is perfect for him. It soon becomes clear to Tachibana why he's in uniform already when school doesn't even start until tomorrow. It's because he's excited. The embarrassed Sakura explains that he just moved, so he didn't have anything else to wear, but she just teases him more. Our boy Sakura resorts to fighting as always, and demands that they take this argument outside. Just then, one of Tachibana's elderly customers almost forgets his to-go bag, but Sakura reminds him. As Sakura heads home, he thinks about how strange that entire interaction was. The old man gave him some candies and told Tachibana to thank him. Sakura isn't used to so much praise, so he calls the entire town weird, including Tachibana. He points out that he's wearing the uniform of a school of delinquents, and his appearance is really strange as well. It doesn't make sense for people to be thanking him. Normal people would be on their guard around him and wouldn't trust him. Sakura once picked up someone's wallet, and they accused him of stealing it. Just then, Tachibana explains that Sakura made the right choice by coming to Furin, but unfortunately, there's no possible way he will become the top dog. Shockingly, she states that he might not even beat anyone there, let alone be top dog. Sakura points out that she has no clue how strong he is. She acknowledges that he might have strong muscles, but explains that he still won't be able to become top dog. The problem that he has is that he is all alone. Sakura becomes furious and declares that he's not so weak that he needs to rely on anyone else to win. As he leaves, Tachibana clarifies that she isn't talking about physical strength. She recommends that he go meet some Furin kids, since then he will understand. Nearby, a group of hoodlums wreak havoc, and some poor lady calls someone for help. Sakura runs into the guys from earlier, and the leader is surprised that he came. He calls our boy Furin trash, but Sakura just tries to ignore him. The leader points out that he didn't forget his face, and mocks Sakura for his appearance. This guy is shocked though when he realizes that this is Sakura's real hair and eye color. They thought that he was just doing some terrible cosplay, but he points out that it being real is even more disgusting. Sakura smiles, as this is what a normal reaction to his appearance is supposed to be like. This is the disgust that he has gotten used to, but it's okay because he has given up on that end. Sakura still wants to feel like he has value though. If he can beat whoever is in front of him, then he can feel like he is better than them. The problem is that Sakura can't stop thinking about how Tachibana told him that he won't be top dog because he is alone. The leader declares that his gang will start a war against Furin for Sakura punching him, but Sakura isn't even listening. He's still focused on Tachibana's words as he punches the leader again, and he declares that he isn't the one avoiding people. Sakura lets out his true feelings about his appearance. It doesn't make sense how people act. He knows better than anyone that he looks weird, but he never did anything to the people that insult him. This is just who he is. Sakura starts beating down on this huge group of thugs. In his mind, as long as he is the strongest and the best fighter, he will be top dog. Being alone has nothing to do with it. The gang tries to attack him all at once, but it's no use as Sakura is far more skilled than them. Sakura instantly takes on any opponent that comes near him, and the fight is somehow heavily one-sided, even though Sakura is outnumbered. Just then, one of the thugs takes Tachibana hostage, but he pays dearly for this very stupid move as Sakura instantly knocks him out. Tachibana thanks him, but Sakura once again explains that the thugs just pissed him off. They tried to use a knife, so he tells the idiots to keep the fight clean. One guy tries to sneak up on him, but he just ends up learning a valuable lesson. Sakura fights off even more of them, but he is hindered by having to stay in one place to defend Tachibana. He wonders why he's defending her in the first place, and reminds himself that helping others never ends well. Still, Sakura continues to defend her, but eventually one of the thugs uses the knife to cut his leg. Sakura is in a really bad spot now, and thinks about how this is why he doesn't defend people. He once again questions why he decided to help her, and prepares to take a bat right to his skull. Just then, someone stops the attack, and Sakura notices that this stranger is wearing a Furin uniform. This guy surprisingly stopped the bat with his back, and he tells Tachibana not to tell a certain person that she was in danger. This guy wipes out the bat wielder and tells the punks that they made a real mess in this town. His buddies arrive, and the guy furiously tells the gang that they are in big trouble. Backup has arrived, but they are disappointed to see so few opponents, as they didn't all need to come to fight. Sakura is in absolute shock, as he can't understand why Furin is saving him. The thugs are terrified to see the one named Hiragi, but they are confident they can win since they outnumber them by a lot. Hiragi tells the others to make quick work of these guys, so they begin to absolutely demolish them. One guy goes to attack Sakura, and Sakura gets caught in a terrible spot as his leg can't move. Hiragi saves him again, and tells Sakura to stand back if he is hurt. Sakura furiously points out that he is not his boss, and explains that the thugs were his to fight. Hiragi just tells him to stop moving around since it makes it harder for them to protect him. Sakura is completely shocked, and he looks around to find that the people of the town are cheering on the Furin guys. Sakura can't believe what he is hearing, and Tachibana reminds him about how she said that the town's public safety was nearly non-existent. However, this was only true up until 2 years ago. That all changed, and it was all thanks to the students of Furin. The first thing they did was put a notice board at the town's entrance. It states that if someone brings trouble to their town by harming people or property, they will be the ones to purge them, no matter who they are. Tachibana explains that somewhere along the line, the townspeople gave the Furin students a new name. Because they fight to protect the town, they are known as the town's Furin shield, called Windbreaker. After the fight, all the townspeople come out to thank the boys. Although they used to be known as low-grade hoodlums, the Furin students are now well respected in the community. However, they still do fight quite a bit. They are beloved by everyone, but most importantly, they are needed. Sakura is shocked at how different this town is, since the fighters are treated like heroes. They have the appearance of thugs, and they even fight all the time, but no one is afraid of them. Sakura is overwhelmed with emotion, and he is shocked when the townspeople tell him that he did a great job holding on his own. Some little old lady even offers to treat his wound, but Sakura can't take all the kindness and demands that they all stop. Tachibana calmly begins to tend to his wound and reminds him that she said that he was alone. However, she explains that she could tell right away that he wasn't choosing to be. She can't figure him out completely, but she explains that the people of this town need his strength. Sakura can't handle everything that's happening, and he declares that he doesn't need anyone and doesn't get involved. Tachibana is quick to point out though that his actions say something different. He reminded the old man about his bag, and he also fought hard to protect her. Tachibana points out that he actually hasn't given up on people, and he doesn't have to. At the very least, she declares that she won't turn her back on him, so she asks that he turns towards her as well. Tachibana is sure that this will be the way he can become who he wanted. Sakura still has a hard time accepting it all, and he makes a mad dash towards the others. He leaps into the air and points out how the delinquents seem to be playing hero now. He admits that all this stuff about being the town shield sounds really cool, and he absolutely destroys the gang's leader that was terrorizing the town. Everyone watches in shock, and Sakura wonders if people will really stick by him there. We then learn that this is the story about how a low-grade pariah who only knows how to fight became the town's hero. Sometime later, Sakura arrives at Tachibana's restaurant, furious for having to carry old Grandma Sato. She fears that she might get hurt getting off his back, but he just tells Granny to hurry up. Grandma Sato shocks our boy with her dismount, and he is furious since she told him that her hips hurt so much that she couldn't walk. The old lady thanks him, but Sakura still doesn't know how to handle such kindness. Tachibana stops him from leaving and gives him some food as today is his entrance ceremony. It's still pretty early though, so she once again determines that he is all pumped up to go to school. He denies it, but she completely understands since there are a lot of interesting characters at Furin. Just then, some kid named Nirei arrives, falling flat on his face. He wonders what Tachibana thinks about his new uniform, but Sakura points out that he still has the tags on his jacket. Nirei manages to get all the tags off his clothes, and Tachibana informs Sakura that the two of them will be in the same grade. Nirei notices Sakura's strange hair and eye, so Sakura thinks he might have a problem with it. Nirei is surprised by his attitude, and determines that Sakura must have it rough, always being so stressed out at his young age. Nirei tries to figure out why some nobody like Sakura came to their town. Sakura is insulted, but Tachibana assures him that Nirei is like that with everyone. Nirei eagerly points out that Furin High is no ordinary school. Members of both Furin stood up to protect the locals. They defend the weak and crush the wicked, so they are heroes of justice. Everyone that comes to Furin admires them, and they all want to help protect the town as well. Nirei is one of them, but he wonders why someone with no ties to Furin like Sakura came to their town. Sakura makes his intentions very clear and reveals that he is there to take the top spot. Protecting the town is great and all, but there are a lot of strong people here, and Sakura just wants to be the best among them. Nirei gets very serious and tells him that he shouldn't say things he will never be able to do. His reason for saying this though is because he fears Sakura will go bald. Sakura has had enough of his little comedy routine, so he demands that they fight, but it's getting late. Nirei must leave as he wants to do 3 rounds of town patrol before the entrance ceremony. He declares that starting today he will be a hero of justice, but he shows just how clumsy he is as he leaves. Tachibana points out how funny the kid is, but Sakura can't believe a dork like him wants to be a hero of justice. Tachibana is surprised to hear Sakura talking about someone else's looks, but Sakura meant that guys like him are the type to always chicken out in fights. To him, nothing is lamer. Tachibana says it's just his assumption, but Sakura explains that he has seen it a sickening amount of times. Tachibana then takes a moment to teach him something. She points out that the coffee fruit is a much different color than the coffee beans that she has in jars. The lesson is that if you look at things only from one perspective, you will never see its true shape. She doesn't think he should be so quick to make assumptions, and encourages him to get to know people better so he can figure out what they are really like. Sakura really takes in this valuable lesson, but he just figures that she means Nirei is a good fighter. Tachibana is disappointed as she wonders if fighting is all he cares about. After he leaves, Sakura still thinks he is right. Just then, he is stopped and offered some free bread. He's pretty confused, so the baker explains that Furin kids are always helping out the town, and he just wants to give back. They recognize Sakura as the one who stood up against the gang the day before, and point out that everyone is talking about him. Sakura doesn't know how to handle praise and leaves, but they insist that he take some sandwiches for lunch. As Sakura goes through town, he finds that several other people feel the same way. Sakura can't figure out what's going on and wonders what is wrong with all the people in this town. They're acting way too nice to a guy like him, but Sakura realizes that he was just assuming that they would treat him poorly. Just then, Sakura is shocked when a girl begs him for help. In some alley, Nirei gets beat up for stopping a guy from bothering a girl. The guys just mock him for thinking he could protect the town, and they declare that he's the one that needs protecting. Nirei tries to make them take it back, but he just gets pushed around. The guys are surprised though when Nirei declares that those who cause pain or bring destruction to the town will be purged by Bofurin. The guys all have a good laugh and point out that only guys in superhero shows talk like that. The leader gets really annoyed and declares that it doesn't matter if Nirei is a windbreaker, he is the one that will be purged. The guy prepares to attack him, but Sakura shows up just in time to help Nirei. Nirei is shocked and wonders why Sakura is saving him, but Sakura doesn't even pay him any attention. The bullies laugh as Sakura is there to save his buddy, but Sakura is insulted by that. He reveals that it's not true, and he just hates weaklings that think they are strong. Sakura declares that it makes him sick, so the bullies decide to show him what they can do. Nirei fears for his safety as he is sure that Sakura can't fight them on his own, but there's nothing to worry about as the guys are all unconscious just seconds later. Nirei is surprised that he handled them in the blink of an eye, and he wonders just who Sakura is. Nirei is terrified of him now, but he still thanks Sakura for his help. He is sure that Sakura is disappointed that someone like him is in Bofurin and attending Furin High, but Sakura just points out that he wasn't saving him. Sakura calls him a typical poser and warns Nirei that he should know what he is and is not capable of. Nirei explains that he always used to get beat up in middle school. One day he was saved by someone from Furin, and it was someone that he would normally be scared of. In that moment though, the guy was really cool, so Nirei wanted to be just like him. Nirei came to Furin to become just as awesome, but he breaks down as he realizes that he is just pathetic. Sakura thinks about how he assumed that Nirei was the type to chicken out in fights, but it's clear that he actually stood up for himself. Sakura tells Nirei that he is a weak fighter, but there is a chance that he might not be that lame. Nirei is shocked and the girl he protected arrives to thank him for sticking up for her. She thanks Sakura too, but he tries to get out of there. Nirei stops him and once again breaks out his little book. He bombards Sakura with questions about his height, weight, blood type, and hobbies. The kid goes crazy analyzing Sakura and taking notes on him. Sakura stops him, so Nirei explains that he just likes gathering data on guys he likes and thinks are cool. Sakura just tells him to do whatever he wants, so Nirei takes this as an invitation to watch Sakura up close and personal. Nirei offers to show him around and reveals that while he might not be any help in a fight, he is the best guide when it comes to the town and the people living there. Sakura is then surprised when Nirei declares that he can guide Sakura all the way to the top. Moments later though, Nirei must encourage Sakura to get going, but he is busy eating because he gets really hungry after fighting. Sakura is amazed by how good the bread is, and Nirei gets caught up in it too, but he realizes that they have to hurry up and go to school. The two eventually make it there, and Sakura is excited since there will be a bunch of people like those guys he met before. Nirei finds the class roster, where he is delighted to find that he and Sakura are in the same class. Nirei is amazed by all the other names on the list, but he doesn't actually know them personally. They are just people he admires. Sakura doesn't think it matters who is in their class, but Nirei points out that they will be spending a lot of time around these people. Just then, Nirei is shocked by one name in particular, and Sakura points out that he has lost all his energy. Nirei gets over it though to ask that Sakura try to be friendly to everyone in class, and he tries to encourage him to smile at them. Sakura thinks he must be joking, but Nirei points out that members of Bofurin gathered together to protect the town. Sakura is not from there, so the guys definitely won't like that, and they will ask Sakura why he came to Furin. Nirei thinks it will be very important to show that Sakura is harmless, and not Bofurin's enemy. Sakura isn't even listening though, as he is warming up. Nirei wonders why, and he is shocked when Sakura says that he's just getting ready for anything. Nirei is disappointed that he wasn't listening, and points out that as an outsider, even the slightest misunderstanding could turn the entire school against him. Sakura doesn't actually care if every single person turns against him, and he reminds Nirei that he is there to fight his way to the top. Sakura enters the class, and Nirei is horrified when it becomes pretty obvious that everyone is staring at him. The class is filled with tough-looking students, but Sakura couldn't ask for anything better. One student knows who Sakura is, but Sakura instantly has his guard up. Nirei apologizes for him and instantly recognizes this student from his book. However, the kid says he is Leonardo DiCaprio. Sakura falls for it at first, and Nirei had no clue that this cold-looking dude could be such a jokester. Nirei knows that his name is actually So, and So says that his eye patch seals away an ancient Chinese spirit in his right eye. Sakura loses his temper when he realizes that the kid is all talk, but So gets serious and approaches Sakura. The moment becomes tense as Nirei fears that people from out of town really are treated as anomalies. Sakura prepares for a fight, and Nirei is terrified that there might not be a way to stop it. Just then, he is shocked when So just pats Sakura on the back and compliments him for being the star of the Main Street Brawl that happened the day before. The other students wonder what he's talking about, so explains that before Hiragi arrived at the brawl, Sakura was the one protecting the town first. Nirei didn't even know this, and the other students begin to gather around Sakura. There were rumors about an unknown student in their uniform, and they are glad that this person did a good job helping the town. They're a bit too close for comfort, but Nirei determines that this is better than them turning against Sakura. It's pretty clear that they won't think of him as their enemy, so Nirei relaxes as the person he feared before should be okay with Sakura too. The guys still wonder why he came to Furin in the first place, so Sakura reveals that he came for the top spot. They are all surprised, so Nirei tries to explain that Sakura isn't there to hold them down and beat them up. Sakura says that he actually is, but his new buddy tells him to let him handle this. Just then, a table gets tossed, and it's some terrifying student. Sakura gets an excited look on his face, but Nirei begs him not to fight this guy. He is the most dangerous guy in their class, and might even be the most dangerous in the entire school. His name is Kiyotaro. Sakura declares that he prefers fighting mad dogs like him, so Kiyotaro says that he will crush him. Kiyotaro throws a powerful punch, but Nirei is shocked when he realizes that So instantly moved him out of the way. Sakura dodged it as well, and compliments Kiyotaro as the type he expected to see in Furin. Kiyotaro gets even more upset, but this is exactly what Sakura was hoping for. Nirei is terrified, but So is glad to see some sparks flying. So explains that Sakura's mistake was saying that he would be top dog in front of Kiyotaro. Sakura does his best to dodge all of Kiyotaro's attacks, while So explains that Kiyotaro has been visiting Furin High School since he was in middle school. In recognition of his determination, Kiyotaro was the only person allowed to call himself Bofurin before officially starting. He has such an extreme loyalty to the top dog that he has earned himself the nickname, the Top Dog's Fanatic. Another student begs that So stop the fight since he is sure that the new student will have his life taken by Kiyotaro, but everyone is shocked when Sakura dodges another attack and lands a counter. Sakura points out that Kiyotaro is a fan of the top dog, which means that he can't think for himself. He probably can't even make his own choices, so Sakura explains that a guy like that has no chance of beating him. The bloodied Kiyotaro is furious, so the two go in for some more fighting, but they are interrupted by an announcement. The person on the other end fumbles around with the microphone, but eventually welcomes all the students to Furin. Sakura is annoyed about being interrupted, so he just wants to get back to the fight. However, the other students are completely focused on the announcement, and Sakura wonders who the guy is that was able to get their attention. The guy introduces himself as Umemiya, and Sakura realizes that he is Furin's top dog, the strongest guy in Furin. Everyone waits, eager to hear what he has to say, but Umemiya says that he forgot. He decides to just tell everyone to remember to enjoy their youth. They are in high school now, so they should try to make a lot of memories. He suggests that they all go to the beach and get some shaved ice. Nirei can't believe what this tough guy is saying, but Kiyotaro thinks that he's trying to make fun of the top dog. Umemiya believes that with so many students there's bound to be some friction, but he assumes that they're not troublemakers who would start a fistfight on the first day. Kiyotaro tries to hide the fact that they are troublemakers fistfighting on the first day, so he wipes away the blood on his face. Umemiya then gets real serious for one message, and he tells everyone to defend the town. They were given the name Bofurin, so they must protect the people and everything important. That is the school's one and only rule, so all the students accept. Sakura is shocked that this guy isn't even in the room, but everyone is eager to obey his orders, and he wonders just how strong of a fighter Umemiya is. So wants the two fighters to shake hands in a grand display of youthful understanding, but Sakura doesn't even think the fight is over yet. Nirei wonders why Sakura is getting so red, but Sakura just silences him. So reminds Kiyotaro that Umemiya wouldn't like to hear that he was fighting a classmate, and he tells Sakura that showing respect to other students is important if he wants to be top dog. Kiyotaro surprisingly wants to shake hands, so Nirei begs Sakura to hurry up and do it. Sakura prepares to do so and reminds himself to just shake it. Sakura must have been through some serious hardship because he must remind himself not to slap Kiyotaro's hand away or throw him to the ground. Sakura shakes his hand, but thinks about how touching people outside of a fight feels really weird. So is glad to see that their youth is burning bright, but their grip is so tight that they both wonder if the other is actually a gorilla. The other students celebrate, and they are amazed that Sakura actually managed to land a hit on Kiyotaro. Sakura is surprised by how nice they are being, but he realizes that it has been this way the entire time since coming to Furin. Sakura has gone silent with his thoughts, but the other students just wonder if he got choked out. Sakura joins the fun as he points out that he wouldn't get choked out so easily. In his mind though, he thinks about how he had no idea that people could be so friendly. Just then, the students are told to go outside, and moments later, Sakura is surprised that they have to paint over some graffiti. Sakura has no clue why they are doing this, but Nirei takes pride in doing a good job, and so compliments his painting skills. A look back to just before this painting moment shows what happened when they were told to go outside. The student that demanded them to do it explains that he will get in trouble if they are too slow. It took them almost 8 minutes to get outside, so Hiragi explains that toddlers are faster than them. Sakura tells Nirei that he saw Hiragi when he saved Tachibana, but Hiragi overhears him and gets furious. Sakura is never supposed to mention that Tachibana was there, and Hiragi explains that he will be in big trouble if it gets out that Tachibana was in danger. Hiragi threatens that something bad will happen if he doesn't listen, but this just ends up being that he will start coughing up blood. Hiragi takes some stomach medicine and explains that he doesn't know what brought Sakura to this school, but he chose one tough general to be under. Nirei wonders what Hiragi was like, so Sakura explains that he's the type of weirdo to stress himself into a stomachache, then has to take a Gaskun 10 pill. Nirei diligently takes notes on Hiragi and explains that he is doing it because Hiragi is one of the school's 4 kings. Umemiya sits at the top of Bofurin, but just below him are his generals, the 4 kings. Each one basically acts like a captain for all 3 years of a given class. Hiragi has the students split up into groups with the 2nd or 3rd year as their captain, and he explains that they will be going to patrol the town. Hiragi is the captain of Sakura's group, which also has Nirei, So, and Kiyotaro. Kiyotaro and Sakura are in the same group because Umemiya told Hiragi to keep a close eye on the troublemaking fistfighters. The guys are surprised that he knows about the fight, so Sakura points out that he was just defending himself. Hiragi has to pull them apart so they can continue patrolling. Sakura points out that all they are doing is walking around and wonders why they aren't beating up some intruders. However, Hiragi points out that that would be offense, not defense. Walking around in their uniforms is enough to scare away the smaller gangs, so that is what they are doing. Sakura thinks that's just boring, but Hiragi points out that only enjoying fights doesn't make him much fun either. Just then, Hiragi does his duty as he helps an old man on a ladder. We then learn that this is why the guys were painting. They are helping the old guy paint over graffiti, as this is also Bofurin's job. When they are done, they are given food as a thank you. Hiragi completely understands how Sakura only cares about fighting, since all the other Bofurin guys used to feel the same way. However, they eventually realize that being needed by the people of the town is fun too. Sakura gives it some thought and takes a bite out of the snack. They arrive at a tunnel where Sakura sees a symbol of a pretty ugly looking dog. Nirei wishes he would be more careful with his words, and he explains that they are at the border between Bofurin's and another team's territory. Past these train tracks, they have their own rules, and it's like a totally different country. It would be really dangerous to cause any trouble there. The other team's symbol is the lion head, and they believe that strength is everything. This is supposed to terrify outsiders, but that's the kind of motto Sakura likes. Just then, the group sees that a Furin middle schooler is being chased by Lion's Head members. It becomes clear that this kid won't make it past the train tracks in time, so Hiragi just lowers his head as there is nothing that can be done. However, just then, everyone is shocked when Sakura and Kiyotaro attack the Lion's Head member. Nirei is terrified of what they have done, since they aren't supposed to interfere in the Lion's Head turf. Sakura says that the kid is on their team, so Sakura and Kiyotaro both point out that this means that the Lion's Head members interfered first. Sakura tells Kiyotaro to go away as he can handle this on his own, but he doesn't listen. The Lion's Head members mock their teammate for getting knocked out by one kick, but Sakura thinks about how ruthless they are since he is supposed to be their teammate. Just then, the Lionheads get terrified when someone shows up after seeing what happened. Hiragi can't believe that this guy showed up out of all people, and he reveals that he is the Lionhead's second in command named Togame. Togami wonders what's going on and casually greets Hiragi when Hiragi explains that the guys were chasing one of their own. Sakura gets annoyed by how laid back this guy is, but he can see that he's the real deal when he can tell that Sakura and Kiyotaro were the ones that knocked out his team member. The knocked out guy gets up, furious at them for breaking the rules and invading their turf, but Togami shocks everyone when he smashes a bottle over his head. Togami doesn't care if it was on their turf or not, he only cares that this kid lost the fight. Togami punches this guy relentlessly and explains that him losing means he is weak. The Lion's Head team doesn't like members that are weak, so he continues to beat him up, but Hiragi stops him. Hiragi points out that he is part of Togame's team, but Togame corrects him. He removes the guy's Lion's Head jacket and explains that their group doesn't need the weak. Everyone is in shock at this ruthless guy, but Sakura just thinks he is lame. He thought the Lion's Head believed that strength was everything, but he points out that beating up the weak doesn't really show strength. Sakura stands right up to this guy, disappointed after thinking that he found a fun group. Everyone is shocked to see him stand up to Togame, and the Lion's Head guys are sure that Togami will end his life for saying what he said. Surprisingly though, Togami is fine with it, and more curious about Sakura's strange hairdo. Togami also doesn't like how fast Sakura talks, and gets serious to point out that it pisses him off. Togami reveals that he has made his decision, and explains that he will beat Sakura to a pulp when the time is right. He states that he has memorized Sakura's face, and the Lion's Head guys leave. Nirei breaks out in terror as he points out that Sakura and Kiyotaro might have just started a war. So calms him down and points out that he doesn't want Nirei ending up like Hiragi. Hiragi is so stressed that he has to slam down some Gaskun 10 pills, and Nirei tries to remind him not to exceed the recommended dosage. Nirei wishes Sakura didn't provoke Togame, and points out that he might have let them go after the kick. Hiragi knows better, and explains that Togame is probably the most territorial guy in Lion's Head. He wouldn't have let it slide, but what's done is done. Hiragi then shocks everyone as he acknowledges that he should have moved first, and he apologizes. Hiragi tells a middle schooler named Sasaki to come with them so they can report to Umemiya. Sakura can tell that Hiragi's stomach is really giving him problems now, so Sakura wonders if he's really that afraid of reporting into Umemiya. Umemiya sounded pretty laid back during his announcement, so Sakura wonders what kind of guy he really is. They arrive at the roof of the school, and everyone marvels at how incredible it is. Hiragi approaches Umemiya, and Sakura prepares to meet the top dog at the school. All the students are shocked though, when Umemiya is just excited about his plants. He wants to barbecue with everyone in the summer, and Sakura wonders if this guy is really the top dog. Hiragi explains that they've got real trouble, and all the boys are shocked when Umemiya reveals that he already knows. It isn't what they think though, as the problem Umemiya is talking about is that they don't have enough seedlings to plant. Hiragi tries to explain that the problem is Lion's Head, but Umemiya just wonders if he wants them to plant some habaneros. The boys can tell that they are clearly not on the same page, but at least they have found out the cause behind Hiragi's stomach pain. Sakura can't believe that this guy is the top dog, but Kiyotaro demands that he show Umemiya some respect. Umemiya just now notices the other guys, so he shows them all his plants. Hiragi is frustrated that Umemiya never listens, and Sakura points out that all the plants look the same. This of course upsets Kiyotaro, and Umemiya tells him to have a closer look since all his plants are different. Sakura realizes that Umemiya was actually like this over the loudspeakers as well. He is kind of a goof, but his voice was all it took to get everyone's attention. Sakura isn't able to see it right now, so he wonders what it is about Umemiya that draws people to him. Sasaki can't take it anymore, so he decides to just explain what happened. He chased after a shoplifter, and before he knew it, he was in Lion's Head territory. Lion's Head chased after him, but he was saved by Sakura and Kiyotaro. Sasaki admires Bofurien a lot, and he just got carried away. He blames himself for sparking a clash with Lion's Head, so he apologizes. Umemiya somehow knows his name, and everyone is shocked when Umemiya actually thanks him. He explains that Sasaki was protecting the people of the town, so he has nothing to apologize for. He then vows that they will take care of the rest. Umemiya then goes back to being casual, as he laughs at how Lion's Head must have hated getting kicked off their feet. Hiragi's in a great deal of stomach pain as he apologizes as well, but Umemiya points out that he can't take responsibility for everything. Nirei agrees and points out that Sakura was the one that pushed things too far anyway. Umemiya wonders if he picked a fight, but Sakura explains that they said that strength was everything. They were actually really lame though, since they beat up on someone weaker. Everyone watches in amazement as Sakura didn't hold back and explained everything himself. Sakura fears he will be punished, but he is shocked when Umemiya agrees with him that Lion's Head has been acting pretty lame recently. He heard about what Sakura did on Main Street, and combined with what he did today, Umemiya can only thank him for protecting their family. All the guys are stunned when Umemiya calls him a reliable new little bro, but Kiyotaro clearly doesn't like it. Sakura finally realizes why everyone is drawn to him, and it's because Umemiya makes him feel safe. Sakura doesn't know how to handle situations like this, so he pushes his hand away and wonders who made him his big bro. It's not that big of a deal though, as Umemiya sees everyone in the town as family. Just then, Hiragi receives a call from a guy named Kaji, but he can barely speak and only says the words Lion's Head. Just then, the leader of Lion's Head calls for their attention. He drags Kaji behind him and introduces himself as Choji. He calls out Umemiya specifically and insists that they have a fight. Nirei loses his mind as he is shocked that their leader came. Sakura, on the other hand, thinks about how Tagami was the second in command, and he becomes excited when he realizes that this leader must be stronger than him. Just then, Sakura is startled as he senses a terrifying power. He sees that Umemiya is preparing himself, but he has no clue what that feeling was. All the guys head outside, but Umemiya tells them all to stay back. Sakura angrily says that he wants to fight, but Umemiya has gotten very serious and simply declares that he will not repeat himself. Sakura is shocked and realizes that his legs won't move anymore. Umemiya has completely changed, so Sakura wonders if this is really the same guy. Umemiya tells Choji that he is holding one of his members, and everyone is shocked that Choji is just smiling right in front of him. Umemiya can be really terrifying, so they wonder just how crazy Choji must be. Choji's excited for a one-on-one fight. He points out that they started it, so they can't back down. Umemiya acknowledges that they started the fight, but he points out that Choji has done enough already. He has beat up several of his members, so Umemiya considers them even. Choji has a look around, so Nirei is surprised that the guy just accepted that answer. Umemiya tells Choji to leave, but everyone is stunned when he attacks instead. Umemiya easily stopped the attack and exclaims that Choji is just as impatient as ever. Choji points out that he started a new fight, so it's Umemiya's turn to fight back. Umemiya wonders why he wants to fight so badly, but all the guys can't believe when Choji declares that it's not just about fighting. He specifically wants to take down Umemiya. Choji explains that he has gotten very bored after becoming top dog in Lion's Head. Umemiya is top dog in Bofurien, but he seems to always be laughing and having fun. Choji doesn't think this is fair, so he wants to make Furien his. Nirei thinks the kid is crazy, but Umemiya seems to know something. He understands that this something must have been rough for Choji, but Choji has no clue what he's talking about. Just then, Choji is surprised when his other members arrive, and this causes the Bofurien guys to step up. Togame calls Sakura Reverse C, and Sura calls him Shaggy. Umemiya tries to stop the guys, but Sakura explains that while he won't interfere in a duel, he can't just stand by and watch an invasion. His response is surprising, but Umemiya seems to be pleased with it. Choji wishes everyone would leave so he could have a one-on-one with Umemiya, but Togame doesn't think that's an option anymore. He points to the school, and we see that all the Furien students are angry and ready for battle. Nirei panics as things could get really bad really fast, but Umemiya tells everyone not to make a move. Umemiya agrees to fight Choji one-on-one, just as long as he tells his guys to back down. One of them insults Umemiya for being afraid of battle, but Kiyotaro warns him to watch his mouth. The guy keeps antagonizing, but another Lion's Head guy points out that Kiyotaro was one of the guys at the bridge. So makes fun of the way this guy talks, so Togame calms everyone down. Everyone is then surprised when he suggests that they save their duel for another day as it's getting dark. His reason is pretty evil though, as he points out that it's hard to see people's faces get smashed in at night. He wonders if Reversi agrees with him, but Sakura points out that his face will be the one getting smashed in. Choji can tell that these two have a grudge against each other, so he suggests that everyone get involved. He doesn't recommend an all-out brawl, but instead he wants to have a bunch of one-on-one fights. Togami agrees, so they decide that Umamiya will face Choji. Sakura will fight Togame, Kiyotaro will face the blonde guy, and So will fight the quiet guy. Umamiya thinks that him dueling Choji should be enough, but Sakura and the other guys agree to fight. The three of them are really eager, so Hiragi can't believe this year's new kids. Just then, another Lion's Head member requests that he be allowed to fight. He chooses Hiragi as his opponent, and Hiragi is shocked as he seems to know this guy named Sako. The normally calm Hiragi becomes furious, and he apologizes to Umamiya as he has decided to join the fight. The fight is decided, so they agree to put their teams on the line. The fight will be the next day, so Nirei panics. Sakura tells him to calm down, but Nirei points out that this is all his fault. Tachibana encourages him to eat something, as stressing out won't change anything, but Nirei can't calm down. He fears what will happen if Umamiya loses, but Kiyotaro gets furious by the thought. Still, this means that Lion's Head would take over Bofurien, and Bofurien might even stop existing. Tachibana once again points out that stressing out won't do anything, and reminds Nirei that the Bofurien guys aren't that weak. Sakura would like to leave after scarfing down his food, but Nirei points out that he didn't eat his veggies. Even more importantly though, Umamiya and Hiragi haven't arrived yet. They are late, but Nirei explains that they had to talk down everyone who was ready for blood. Sakura wonders why they wanted to meet at this cafe, and So explains it is somewhat of a tradition for Bofurien to come to this place before a fight. Just then, Umamiya arrives, and he showers Tachibana with compliments. He even shows her his plants, and So points out that he is quite fond of Tachibana. Sakura wonders if she is his girlfriend, but they all call him an idiot. Umamiya points out that she is his little sister, but she explains that that isn't it either. It turns out that they were raised in the same situation, and Umamiya just started calling her his sibling on his own. Tachibana is relieved when Sakura doesn't think too much of it, but Sakura is surprised to hear that she's only 16, the same age as him. He points out that she is really mature, so he thought she was in her 20s. Kiyotaro can tell that Umamiya doesn't like this conversation, so he puts an end to it. Umamiya then terrifies Sakura by simply agreeing that Tachibana is very mature. Hiragi then explains that Umamiya protects Tachibana like crazy, and terrible things would happen if he ever found out that she was in trouble. Hiragi isn't eating, so he explains that he's just thinking about Lion's Head. Sakura wonders if they used to be different, so Hiragi explains that they believe in strength alone. They used to simply care about strong fighters. They have always had a lot of hotheads, but they never would have chased a middle schooler. Bofurien once had a big clash with them. It was a huge brawl, but Hiragi remembers it being oddly satisfying. Since Choji took over, bad rumors started spreading. He has heard that Choji has been picking fights everywhere. Choji and Togame used to be symbols of strength who cared deeply for their team, so Hiragi laments how something has changed them. Umamiya suspects that it's the fault of someone named Tomiyama. Umamiya explains that they will probably find out more tomorrow, but Sakura points out that they will be fighting tomorrow. He doesn't think there will be much talking, but Umamiya explains that fights are conversations. Punches are a language that sometimes work better than words. However, that might only be true for guys like them. The night comes to an end, so Sasaki thanks everyone for saving him and hopes that they win the fight. Everyone accepts his apology, but Sakura points out that he isn't fighting for him. Tachibana calls him a dope and tells him to say something cool like "leave it to me." This reminds Sakura of how that's exactly what Umamiya said, so he says it too. The next day, the Bofurien guys arrive at the tunnel and enter the Lion's Head territory. Sakura thinks about how this is the first time he has ever fought for someone else. He isn't sure why, but for some reason he feels more unbeatable than ever. Choji welcomes them to his territory, and Umamiya declares that they are ready. Choji excitedly leads them somewhere, so the Bofurien guys follow. On the way, Sakura notices that the entire place is filled with bars. Nirei explains that it's known for getting pretty lively at night, but also very dangerous. Sakura just now wonders what Nirei is doing there, and points out that he isn't in a one-on-one fight. Nirei declares that he is there because he is a member of Bofurien. Even if he can't protect others like they can, he would at least like to be able to protect himself. Nirei asks that he be allowed to learn by watching. Sakura angrily tells him to just do what he wants, but So can tell that Sakura was flattered. Hiragi gets upset with them and wishes they would act at least a little bit nervous about the fight. Umemiya reminds him to relax a bit and points out that the new students are very promising. Choji leads them further into the area, and Togami formally welcomes them to Orion, the Lion's Head's secret lair. Nirei consults his little information book and explains to the others that the Lion's Head lair is a movie theater named Orion that went out of business. Nowadays they call it Ori, which means cage. They all enter the theater where a bunch of Lion's Head members cheer as it is announced that the fighters are about to enter the arena. The crowd is very loud and unruly, so Nirei is terrified. So understands the nickname now because this is truly a cage of wild beasts. Nirei begins to wonder if they will make it back home or even if they will make it back alive. Sakura notices this and reminds Nirei that he's there to study. He instructs Nirei to keep his eyes forward, and the refocused Nirei does just that. Choji announces that it's time to begin, and Umemiya points out that he has really turned this entire thing into a spectacle. Umemiya tells his guys that while this has turned into a big event, the only fight that really matters is his one-on-one with Choji. Their wins or losses won't count, so they should feel at ease when they get on stage. Sakura refuses that statement and declares that whether it counts or not, he does not intend to lose. The others agree, and Umemiya is excited by how reliable they are. Choji wants his fight against Umemiya to go first, but there's no way that they're going to let the captain start the battle. The blonde guy wants to go first, as he points out that Kiyotaro has been shooting daggers at him with his eyes the entire time. Everyone is okay with this, so they head to the stage. Sakura reminds Kiyotaro that they still have a score to settle. However, if he loses to pathetic losers like these guys, then Sakura doesn't want to fight him ever again. Kiyotaro has no words like always, and just heads to the stage. The blonde guy's name is Arima, so Nirei finds him in his little book. Arima is known for being a heavy hitter, as he has broken several ribs with just one punch. So tells him not to worry though, since Kiyotaro is pretty much the same. Umemiya shocks them though when he says that they aren't even in the same league. On stage, Arima is annoyed by Kiyotaro's stare. He uses a dirty trick to distract Kiyotaro by pretending that something bad happened to Umemiya. Arima uses the advantage to land a punch, and he calls Kiyotaro an idiot for looking away during a fight. Sakura can tell that there's nothing to worry about though. Kiyotaro is just building up his rage, and he absolutely destroys Arima. He calls Arima the idiot, and reminds him to be more respectful when saying Umemiya's name. Arima's completely unconscious, but Sakura's just disappointed by how weak he was. The Lion's Head guys can't believe that he got knocked out so easily, and they wonder who this first-year Bofurian guy is. Nirei points out that Kiyotaro just needed one punch, and the Lion's Head guys get concerned. Choji, on the other hand, is just amused by how tough Kiyotaro is. The Bofurian guys look over to them, and they see just how focused Togame is. Choji now wants to fight Kiyotaro, so Togame has to tell him to wait for his turn. Nirei is stunned by their reaction. Not only do they not care about the guy who lost, they are complimenting the opponent. Nirei is more certain than ever that there is definitely something wrong with these two guys. Umemiya points out that Kiyotaro has always been really tough, so it's no surprise that he wasn't affected by a punch to the face. Nirei was still shocked by it, but Sakura wasn't because he has already fought Kiyotaro. The others are glad to see that this means Sakura finally accepts Kiyotaro's strength, but Sakura is too embarrassed to admit it. While they argue, Umemiya looks over to the Lion's Head leaders. Choji wonders how Togame would beat Kiyotaro if he had to fight him. Umemiya watches closely, as Togame is so focused that he doesn't even answer Choji. His seriousness gets Choji hyped for more fighting, so he instructs a couple of his guys to clear the stage. The guys get tired of dragging Arima, so they just decide to throw him off the stage onto the ground. They mock Arima for being so weak, and kick his unconscious body, which makes Nirei point out how horrible they are. Nirei is then horrified when Sakura tells the two guys to not even talk around him. He never wants to hear them talk about how they are devotees of power ever again, and it embarrasses him just hearing wimps like them speak. So joins in and points out that kids like them just won't understand until they are defeated. The guys get furious and wonder if they're looking for a fight. Their anger turns to terror, however, when Choji very seriously tells them to back away since they are not their opponents. Sakura eagerly wants to fight next, but So declares that it's his turn to fight the quiet kid. So points out that his opponent looks really stressed out, so they should get some exercise. The kid's name is Kanuma, and all the Lion's Head guys cheer him on. As So prepares to fight, he explains that he thought Sakura was stupid for wanting to go for the top spot. Sakura gets furious, but So explains that he was wrong. He thought Sakura's words were empty and meaningless, but he now knows that he actually has a spine. So thinks that's pretty awesome, and he will do his best so he can keep up with Sakura. Sakura never knows what to say in these situations, so he just tells So to hurry up and get on stage. Nirei searches for information about Kanuma in his book, but Sakura is more interested in learning about So. Nirei explains that So was famous for being strong in middle school. Sakura can tell that much just by looking at him, but unfortunately Nirei doesn't have any more information. Hiragi explains that he has heard of So quite a bit as well, but he doesn't have any details about him either. The same goes for Umemiya, but he could tell from the moment they met that So is a kind gentleman. On stage, it turns out that Kanuma is furious after seeing Arima get knocked out. So points out that this is unlike the Lion's Head guys, since they treat their own members so poorly. Kanuma reveals that he has known Arima his entire life, and they have always had each other's back. So points out that he only whines when he is a victim, and that is the behavior of an impatient child. So mocks him by speaking to him like he's a little boy, and Sakura thinks about how the look on So's face is not the look of a gentleman. So's mockery causes Kanuma to attack, but everyone is shocked when So easily avoids it. Everyone then watches as So continues to mock him, as he recommends that they both try and act like adults now. Kanuma is horrified as he can't understand how So got behind him so quickly. He decides to attack faster, but this just gets him tossed to the ground. Further attempts at landing an attack fail, and Kanuma gets even more frustrated when So keeps insulting him. So just keeps toying with this guy, and Nirei is amazed since he is making it look like his opponent is stumbling around on his own. The audience gets annoyed with Kanuma, and they tell him to stop letting himself be toyed with. Kanuma thinks about how they have no clue what it's like to have everything you try so easily countered, and he wishes they had to try and fight So. Umemiya realizes that So is no ordinary gentleman, and Sakura points out that he doesn't even have a shred of kindness. He is actually pretty ruthless, as he is tormenting an inferior opponent and making a fool out of him. Kanuma is getting destroyed, as So makes it clear just how large the gap is in their skill. This would make Sakura want to end himself if he were Kanuma, but of course he would never end up that way. Hiragi is surprised to see that So wanted to prove a point in this fight, and Umemiya assumes that it's because he was affected by someone else. Nirei realizes this as well, and thinks about how So wanted to keep up with Sakura. Seeing So fight has caught Sakura's attention, so he wonders how he can get So to seriously spar with him. The fight continues, but it just becomes more apparent that So is toying with Kanuma. So barely has to move to dodge all his attacks, and he drops Kanuma once again. The crowd has turned against Kanuma, and he is horrified to see that Choji has fallen asleep watching his fight. What's even worse is that Togame is clearly not impressed, and he remembers what happened to the weakling under the bridge. Kanuma begins to panic, and his heart begins to race. So sees this better than anyone, and explains that Kanuma is finally figuring out the answer to what it takes to be an adult. Kanuma absolutely loses it, so he goes in for an attack, but So stops him in his tracks. Kanuma is then shocked when So reveals that he already knows what's going on in his head. He assumes that Kanuma is imagining himself becoming the person he used to ridicule. This is good for him though, since the answer to what he needs to become an adult is an imagination. Kanuma is completely terrified, but So calmly points out that he can now move on to the next step. So ruthlessly continues with his lesson, as he explains that Kunama needs one more thing to make his imagination become a reality. So prepares an attack, so Kanama begs him to stop. Just then, Togami asks that Eye Patch Kun stop the fight. Kanuma can't understand why, so Togami just tells Kanuma that he has humiliated them enough. Togami corrects himself though, as Kanuma can't humiliate them anymore because he is no longer part of Lion's Head. This is Kanuma's worst nightmare, and his imagination has just become reality. So's final lesson is that becoming an adult means being able to empathize. To do that, a person needs imagination and experience. So is happy for Kanuma though, as at least he was able to learn something. The audience is totally silent as they can't believe that Kanuma was completely toyed with. None of the Lion's Head guys know who So is, so they realize that he must be a first year. This is extremely concerning, and it makes them realize that Bofurien is really bad news. So is really humble about his victory, but Nirei wants to know if he used Kung Fu. He is shocked to learn that So doesn't even know what his fighting technique is, since his master just made it up. Nirei diligently takes notes, and So apologizes for his behavior against Kanuma. So says that Sakura motivated him, but Sakura doesn't care, and just wants to make sure that So goes all out when they fight each other. Nirei can't believe how Sakura wants to fight everyone, and So says that he wouldn't want to fight Sakura since he looks like a nuisance. The two of them argue, but Umemiya is glad to see that everyone is so lively. So keeps antagonizing Sakura, but Umemiya can tell that they will make a great team. Just then, they see Kanuma dragging Arima's body. Kanuma is still traumatized by what just happened, and he tells Arima that it's all over. Of course, Choji now wants to fight Eye Patch-kun, and Sakura declares that it's finally his turn. Unfortunately for him, Sako points at Hiragi, and Hiragi apologizes to Sakura as they must go first. Sakura is furious and points out that the other two first years just went, so it doesn't make sense to save him for later. Hiragi explains that Sakura's opponent is Togame, but it doesn't look like he wants to step up just yet. Togame is their second in command, so Hiragi points out that it would make more sense if he fought him instead. Sakura gets upset as he assumes that Hiragi doesn't think he can win, but he is shocked when Hiragi explains that he is trusting Sakura. Sakura doesn't know how to handle this situation either, and just declares that he doesn't need Hiragi's trust, he will win either way. Hiragi doesn't talk much about himself, but he and Sako seem to know each other. Choji cheers Sako on, but Togame's just surprised that Sako insisted on having a one-on-one with someone. It's not like him, so Togame wonders if something happened between him and Hiragi. Togame can never tell what Sako is thinking, but Choji's more excited than anything. It's not every day that they get to see one of Bofurien's 4 kings go up against Sako. Hiragi tries to catch up with Sako, but Sako doesn't say a single word. Hiragi then just apologizes as he states that he will be winning this fight. Choji demands that they stop with the talking and just fight, so that's exactly what they do. Sako shows his insane speed, surprising everyone, and he declares that he is tired of Hiragi looking down on him. His old self is long gone, and he plans to force Hiragi to learn that. The two then battle it out some more, and Hiragi just barely manages to avoid a devastating kick. Choji cheers Sako on, and Nirei is terrified as Sako's managing to put a lot of pressure on Hiragi. Togame is impressed by how well Sako is doing, but Choji says it's to be expected since Sako is one of their top 5. Togame explains that Sako has been in more fights than anyone, and he joined Lion's Head seemingly out of desperation. Choji's more surprised by how much Sako just talked. He usually only says yes or no, and one more word if they are lucky. Him speaking more now means that he must be very angry at Hiragi. Sako then dodges a bunch of Hiragi's attacks while pointing out all his weaknesses. Sako's disappointed that Hiragi hasn't improved at all, and Hiragi points out that Sako has gotten a lot more talkative. Hiragi says that he used to be so quiet that he didn't need to teach him not to talk during a fight or he would bite his tongue. Just mentioning their past makes Sako furious, so he goes in for another attack. Hiragi is shocked that Sako has gotten faster, and he gets knocked back. Sako is disappointed to see that Hiragi not only didn't improve, he even got weaker, and it's because he hangs out with a chummy group of pushovers. Sakura becomes furious, but it's not towards Sako. Sako is surprised to see that he is talking to Hiragi. Sakura points out that they're getting mocked because of him, and the only weak part about Hiragi should be his stomach. Nirei has to hold him back from attacking Hiragi, and so points out that Sakura is starting to care more about his friends. The embarrassed Sakura says that he's just angry, so Umemiya calms everyone down. Umemiya tells Sako that Hiragi is one of their 4 kings, and the leader of the team named after Tomonten. He confidently explains that Tomonten has another name, but Sako has no clue what point he's trying to make. Just then, everyone is shocked as Hiragi stands back up and declares that he hasn't gotten kicked like that in a while. Sako then just barely dodges his incredibly powerful punch, and Hiragi acknowledges that Sako is a totally different guy now. Umemiya then reveals that Tomonten is also known as Bishamonten, the god of war who controls the battlefield. Hiragi's upset about being yelled at by a first year and must take some medicine. It isn't all bad though, as the fight is starting to get fun. A look into the past shows some bullies being upset with Sako for being so cocky. Sako denies it, but the bullies just beat him up anyway. Luckily for him, a young Hiragi showed up to ask them what they were doing. Back to the present, the two guys fight it out more evenly now. The Lion's Head guys watch in amazement, as it's not every day that they get to see a one-on-one like this. The Bofurian first years are impressed as well, as they had no idea that Hiragi was this strong. Sakura wishes he would have shown his strength from the start, but So thinks that he was inspired by Sakura's words. Choji's really surprised by Sako's fighting ability, but Togami can tell that Hiragi has the upper hand. This becomes even more evident as the fight goes on, but Sako refuses to believe that Hiragi's current self is stronger than him. This doesn't make any sense to him, as Hiragi lives a cushy life and hangs out with his friendly crowd. Returning to the past shows that Hiragi beat up all the bullies. Sako couldn't understand why Hiragi helped him, so Hiragi just explained that bullying is bad. He told Sako that bullies will keep picking on him if he just stays quiet, so he needs to start fighting back at least a little bit. Sako was completely hopeless, so he begged Hiragi to teach him how to fight. As Hiragi helped him, Sako began to admire his strength. Hiragi never created a herd of his own, but people just naturally gravitated towards him. Sako looked up to him, so he was excited for Hiragi when he graduated and was about to enter Furin High. Sako was sure that Hiragi would get the top spot, and he vowed to help him get there any way he could. However, Sako was horrified when Hiragi told him that it would be best if Sako didn't follow him anymore. Hiragi explained that he decided to support a guy named Umemiya, so he wouldn't be able to take the top spot himself. Things won't end up the way Sako thinks they will, so he tells Sako to find a new goal of his own. Sako was devastated, and he took his anger out by fighting. This was when he was found by Togami and Choji, who were impressed by his strength. Sako only wanted to know if they had strong members, so they assured him that they did. Togami explained that Lion's Head philosophy is devotion to power. The strong are recognized, and the stronger you are, the higher you will go. Sako didn't care about his little speech, and declared that all he cared about was being able to fight strong guys. He was determined to become stronger, so he could defeat Hiragi, and make him regret his decision. Back to the present, Sako refuses to lose. Unlike Hiragi, he didn't get chummy with anyone, and instead he devoted himself to getting stronger. Sako goes in for an attack, but Hiragi's able to predict his movements. This just makes Sako more furious, as he points out that Hiragi decided to fall under someone else. He declares that he can never lose to someone like that, but Hiragi stops his punch. Hiragi apologizes for not meeting Sako's expectations, and lands a powerful punch. Sako gets emotional, and thinks about how not meeting his expectations was never the problem. He doesn't even think that there's anything Hiragi needs to apologize for. Sako knew that Hiragi was only looking out for him, but what hurt was when Hiragi told Sako to stop following him. Sako didn't actually care if Hiragi wanted to support someone else. He just wanted Hiragi to tell him to keep following him. Hiragi's last punch now turns out to be the one that ends the battle, as Sako passes out. Another look into the past shows when Sako promised to follow Hiragi forever before they stopped being friends. He had already made up his mind, as he was sure that Hiragi would take the top spot. He promised to follow Hiragi while he was taking the top spot, and even after. Back to the present, all the Lion's Head guys are shocked to see that Sako has lost, and they're in awe of one of Bofurin's 4 kings. As for the Bofurin guys, they are all really proud of their boy. Choji wants to fight Hiragi now too, but Togami just tells someone to get Sako off stage. The Lion's Head guys are hesitant, so Hiragi just does it himself. Togami tells him that he didn't need to handle Sako so gently, but Hiragi stops him from grabbing Sako. Hiragi states that he should wait till after his one-on-one to deal with Sako, and his anger can be seen as he grabs onto Togami forcefully. Hiragi points out that he should wait since they don't know what will happen. Togami is confused by this, so Hiragi explains that handling things the way they do will not make them stronger. Hiragi calmly says that he's just talking to himself, but Togami points out that he's saying a lot for a person that's not talking to anyone. The Bofurin first years compliment Hiragi on a job well done, and Umemiya says that he was really impressed by his roundhouse kick. Hiragi is sure that Umemiya will want to know about his past, but he is shocked when Umemiya says that he only wants to hear about it when Hiragi is ready to tell him. That will be the story he wants to hear, so Hiragi is relieved that he said that. Thanks for watching my recap. Sign up to my free newsletter if you want to show some support to the channel, link is in the description.